Is Billy Roberts. I'm a concept artist and illustrator. I'm also an art director, and I've art directed a few projects. So I wanted to talk about no-tan sketching and composition today. I have seen a few people inside the Discord, my Discord obviously, and other Discords wondering how to get better at general design principles when it comes to doing landscapes or pretty much anything this caters to. So no-tan sketching is a distilled or distillation of your spectrum in your value range. So what you're trying to do is essentially paint everything with black and white. And you're trying to reduce the technical difficulties with detail and so on and so forth. And it lets you focus on hierarchy, and it lets you train your eye for design shapes in the most efficient manner. I think in 2025, as the world shifts and as things change, a lot of newcomers to this field have pushed aside the practice, especially when they're learning from a self-taught perspective, or they're learning from other sources that aren't specifically tied to general practice with concept art and illustration. So no-tan sketching is one of those things where if you went to a school and you said, hey, I want to be an environment artist, or hey, I want to be an illustrator, the amount of drawing that they would get you to do would almost warrant you wanting to quit and never touch a pencil ever again. And that is the degree in which these schools will get you to study. That's the degree that they know you need to go to. The efforts and the effort that you're putting in, they know that that's the type of effort you need to put in to actually develop yourself as an artist, especially if you're doing illustration work. So today I just wanted to emphasize the importance of going back to the basics, and this can be done for anyone at any level of their art journey. As you can see, I did 52 no-tan sketches for you guys, and I've already done thousands of them, but I just want to do 52 more, right? And that's kind of the mindset that you should try to keep inside of yourself, because there is no end to this process of becoming the artist you want to be. There is no finish line of this race, right? So when you realize that, or if someone like myself can talk to you and say, hey, there is no end, constantly be a student, constantly return to the fundamentals, constantly enjoy them, realize the benefits, and treat them as a fun, no stress practice session, you become in a state where you enjoy what you're doing, you enjoy the practice of it. And I have found a similarity between artists that have that mindset and don't have that mindset. I've actually been able to piece together through my journey those artists and what separates them from the ones that become a household name, whether it be in illustration or concept art. Some approach the problem with intuition, and some approach the problem with technical. But I would say that the big differentiation is they're both approaching the problem in different ways, but they're approaching it with thoughtful practice and deep-seated study principles that they've either picked up from previous careers or they've picked up from their education at their school. So this is a message, I guess, for the self-taught artists that are trying to progress, or the artists that are in school, and it's just a healthy reminder to jump back to the basics every now and again, because it is such a crucial part of this global process. When you see even myself produce key art on YouTube and say, hey guys, this is how you do key art, no one's seeing the 2,000 Notan sketches that I've done in the past year. No one's seeing the studies behind the polished thing that I'm presenting. So this is the honest truth message as well, where I'm letting you guys know that if I were to tell everyone the time investment that I've put in to get to where I am, I think 80% of people would probably not want to proceed, because it is a pretty massive time investment, even to get to my level, which is not the top by any measure. It's not even close. So there are some things that we can do to expedite the time, and I would say having a schedule, having a dedicated study session per week, at least once per week, is probably one of those important things to place inside of your time schedule, and probably just spend a little bit less time trying to make the ground-breaking artwork that's going to get you a job, and just throw that out the window for a couple of weeks per month, and actually spend more time honing in on the execution of the fundamentals, because I do believe that those are the things that will speed you up. It's more about placing your time accordingly. And I think that's a very powerful message, and it can be extremely beneficial if you take that advice and you apply it to your entire art journey. So that's my takeaway for you guys this week, is bounce back to the fundamentals. Give yourself the time to actually enjoy it and not treat it as a chore or as a job. Because at the end of the day, this is our foundation we're building here. And if we build that poorly, there's always going to be cracks, even if you get a job or you work in a team and they require something from you. If you have holes, those holes will be prevalent and they will hold you back. So enjoy this moment, to study at a leisurely pace and enjoy the process of learning how to construct composition, lighting, and shapes. So, let's talk about no-tan sketching more specifically, because I believe, in my opinion, that it's one of the most foundationally most beneficial things to be doing. If you're an environment artist or you're trying to just upskill your compositional eye, there's a few reasons for that. One, it allows you to focus on what's important. Hugely, hugely, hugely beneficial. If you can focus on what's important, you reduce design detail or even effort in the other areas, so it actually speeds you up. But there's something appealing about the hierarchy of an image. So, it's the fastest way, in my opinion, to learn hierarchy. That's awesome. That's awesome to know for probably a lot of people. If you draw something, can you draw it again? And you like, throw that in the trash. You draw it again, throw that in the trash, draw that again, throw that in the trash. That's quite typical when you have skipped this step. Because when you do a no-tan sketch, you are essentially chasing a comp of an idea in a very simple way. And you can get really, really excited about the simple shapes, the leading lines, how your eyes travel across the canvas, the lighting, etc., etc. And if you practice no-tan sketching when you actually go to do a thumbnail, which is essentially a more detailed no-tan sketch, to be perfectly honest, you will be able to produce quite a few of them. You'll be able to evaporate your bad ideas and find your good ideas. And essentially, that's the job of most illustrators, most concept work. If you're doing environment design, that's kind of important. You can have the best design in the world, but if your lighting sucks or the general composition is too busy or too noisy, or worst case, off brief, then you're in a world of hurt. So I personally, if I was working with an AD and they wanted to explore doing key art or concept illustration for a project or a product, I would probably start with no-tan sketches. We pick one, I elaborate on the one we picked, we move into graphic thumbnailing. From there, depending on the IP, we can decide to go down the 3D route, or if we want the IP to be more illustrative, more painterly, we can also go down that route. So doing these types of images gives the company directors an opportunity to be a part of the creative process. It gives them the opportunity to inject narrative design or IP design where it needs to be. And I believe that this is a crucial component to the early phases of any project. There's a lot we can pull from black and white no-tan sketches. So that's my thoughts, guys, on why I think it's valuable. One, you're going to learn an incredible amount about composition, lighting, focal points, hierarchy, and shape design. And you're going to learn it within the space of, I would say honestly, if you did what I'm doing here, and you did that for 3 months, your compositions will go through the roof. Your compositional understanding, your lighting understanding, your subtleties, your hierarchies, all of that will go through the roof if you are a beginner. And when I say a beginner, I'm maybe 3 years. If you're 3 years in on your journey, that's still pretty early on. When we look at the art timeline, it's quite large. So if you're 3 years in and you're struggling with composition or any of the fundamentals that I mentioned, I would say give yourself the time to do these. It's going to benefit every other aspect that you approach in the future. Even if your AD or your project doesn't require that feedback round at the beginning to acquire the composition, you can still use it for yourself to explore things very quickly before you go into 3D or before you invest too much time into an idea that probably isn't going to work out. So it's a safeguard for your own portfolio, it's a safeguard for your time, and ADs love seeing this type of work. AD specific, obviously, and studio specific, but it does paint a picture of the fundamental basis, like where is this person at? So instead of the AD guessing, they can actually clearly see, okay, for like quick, loose, iterative notan sketching, they're at that level. And that's really beneficial in a lot of cases. It means that they can trust the process of having that injection if they need it. They can also trust the process that you can iterate quickly. And at a foundational level, it can show off, shapes, hierarchy, and lighting. So, very cool. I will say, guys, there's a process to this. Now, I will specify that process because I think if you guys give it a go, I don't want you to get frustrated. So I'm going to start talking about the actual video. So far, what I've been doing is placing down bold, graphic, dark shapes. Once I get those in, I supplement it with a very thin line to outline your flowing lines through or detailing out, like that's a tree, that's a mountain, that's a house. So more specific. And I'm very sparing with those lines. Extremely sparing. I don't want it to be a line art drawing at all. I then finish it off with a gradient brush. You can use like a soft round or whatever. Use a lasso tool. And then it just allows me to put in general lighting. I really like the idea of spotlighting as a compositional thing. It just is so powerful, so I'm sort of testing that for myself with a lot of these. And what I mean by spotlighting is towards the camera, closer to the camera, it's quite dark, and further away from the camera, it's also quite dark with a moody sky. So the light is sort of splicing through the center of the canvas. And that's just something that I decided to test for myself on this video. And it's something that I'm just like pushing a little bit in my personal work at the moment. So as you can see with this quick drawing of a house on a hill, just laying in the major dark and light shapes and then supplementing it with that gradation to capture a sense of lighting and form. And it allows me to make those decisions on the focal point. Where is the hottest point on the canvas, right? And making that decision. So this kind of leads me into my next topic, and I wanted to be really open about this because I wanted to give everyone that's watching my videos some hope with what they're doing and with their journey. When I first did no-tan sketching, it was really, really bad. It wasn't probably until my 500th drawing that I started to get good at it, and it started to actually feel fun. So when you do try this, treat each one like it's going to be really, really cool. Don't like go, well, I'm just going to skip the first 500 until it becomes fun. No, I was like frustrated at the 100 mark. I was frustrated at 200. I was frustrated at 300. And it wasn't until the 500th that I actually started to realize, oh, if I just do it this way and I just do that and I control my tempo here and I do this that way, that's when I started seeing progress. So there's no skipping. Can't skip. You have to allow yourself to be frustrated, to find solutions, and avoid chasing the comfort. Well, I can draw this, landscape every time perfectly, so I'm just going to draw another one of those because I can do it and it makes me feel good. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Draw a sci-fi city. If you suck at drawing sci-fi cities, draw more sci-fi cities. Because what you learn from that is way greater than chasing what you're comfortable with. So through this discomfort, every one I did up until the 500th mark was super uncomfortable. And I'm tracking this back from memory because I remember how annoyed I was with it. So back probably around 9-10 years, somewhere around there, when I first started doing these, I had that frustration. I was super annoyed, like, oh, everyone else makes it look so easy. Why are my shapes bad? That's sort of how I used to talk to myself, because I was genuinely frustrated with myself. And I would say what kept me pushing was that time period after the first 500, where I could kind of make the idea that I had in my head, like kind of, it was never perfect up until probably the 1000th drawing. It was never like exactly what I wanted, but it was starting to head towards something that, okay, that's a rock, right? That's a person. That's a building. It was starting to actually resemble things, and the shapes were getting better. The lighting was getting better, but I want to paint a picture of time here for you guys. The first 500 sketches is probably, realistically, 6 months of work. That's how slow it is at the beginning. That's the truth. If you do more, you just burn out. If you do less, it's not enough. So there's this balance that you have to hold as well with all of this. You're not going to do 500 in a week. If you do, the quality level of each one is not high enough for you to learn from it. So you need to hold that portion. You need to hold that part to some level of accountability with how much effort, how much thought you're putting into each one. So what I'm showing you guys today is where I'm at with that after thousands of these drawings. I was able to produce 52 within 6 hours. So it's roughly around 10 minutes per image. If I went into a meeting room with anyone that was trying to hire me, and they wanted to explore blue sky, or they wanted to explore general illustration for an established IP. They wanted to explore composition. They wanted to explore dynamism and just general mood or something for an image before it was executed. And I said, hey, I can give you like 60 ideas today. That's kind of important. It's kind of powerful. People will see that as a benefit. Most people will see that as a huge benefit. So that's where I'm at the moment in terms of my brain power. And I will say most of this comes down to your brain's energy levels, because I think around like 40, my brain like melted, like completely melted, and that's just me being honest with everyone. I just felt so mentally drained. So I actually had to take a little 20-minute break, and then, touch some grass, basically, go outside, get some sun on me, come back, and I definitely felt a lot better when I came back. But I do remember early on when I was saying about my first 500, I would do 3, and then my 4th, again, it's a lot slower though, but maybe three I was doing every, at the beginning it was probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's how slow I was. I would run out of juice on my 4th. So the first 3 would look good, and then my 4th, it was like, for myself, I was like, oh man, it's so bad. Like, why? And I feel so tired. So there is like a diminishing return factor here with this, and you do have to work to the level that you're at and be honest with yourself with it. As soon as the quality collapses, there's only a few things that are actually happening, and that is, you're probably fried. Your energy, the energy of your brain, is just a muscle at the end of the day. It's a good way of looking at it. You're tired. You need to rest. You need to have a break. And that break could either be a couple hours, it could be 10 minutes, it could be an entire day. You have to assess that yourself. You have to be open with yourself. Like, let all of this digest, basically. And if you're like, all right, I started to lose steam on my 6 image, don't keep pushing. You're just going to get more and more and more frustrated, and then you won't do them. So definitely just see where you're at with that. Like I said at the beginning, I could only do 3. Now I had to stop at 52. And when I finished wrapping up the session, I remember walking downstairs, and I was like physically unwell. I was actually physically unwell. Like, I did not feel good, because the amount of effort to do those last 2, I probably needed to take a break earlier. I probably needed to stop at 50 or 48. So these are just some of the things that I think is important to share with everyone. This YouTube channel is about me talking about my experiences, what helped me, and also what has helped artists that are in my network that I've communicated with, and where I've seen them progress, and just sharing that. And with that comes most topics. And this one is going to be important for every artist that is trying to progress. Don't burn yourself out. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You get diminishing return. When you return, your energy levels are low, and that, unfortunately, becomes an almost unrecoverable state. You end up having to take a week off. That you pretty much have to at that point. You take an entire week off. You're just drained. Can't do it. You come back and you're like, oh, I've got heaps of energy, and then you do it again. You do it to yourself again. You end up overworking, under-delivering, and then you're exhausted again. Ambition at that degree is no longer beneficial. It's no longer benefiting you, the artist. To think about not or stopping before you are even tired, like, oh, that's lazy, right? I can do more. I'm going to learn faster. I'm going to learn as much as I can in 2 weeks. I'm here to tell you guys there's probably only 2% of the people on the planet that actually operate in that way and can benefit from it at an early level as an artist. So I just want to leave everyone with one big thing. If you've already followed the first step here, where you're going, oh, these do look beneficial, these do look like they're going to help me, I'm going to do that. Just keep in mind that your brain is a muscle. Don't exhaust it. Look after it. And when you feel like, oh, I'm getting a little tired, get up, stop. Have some empathy for your brain and how it actually works. And let what you've already done sink in so it can be applied to your next session. So I know that's a bit of a open, very broad topic, but it's just a healthy reminder to all you guys that watch my videos, to my fellow artists. Look after yourself, and it's awesome to be hungry. It's awesome to have ambition. Yes, that stuff's so important, but learn to stop. Learn to take a break and learn the art of absorbing the information that you have been trying to learn. That side is just as important. So that is kind of a little bit of an art lesson, a little bit of a advice thing, but mainly it's me sharing my experiences. There were times where I went too far. There were times where I put too much in. There were also times where I put too little in. And over 10, 12, 15 years of drawing, when I started, I was drawing in a sketchbook, I was drawing comics, I was drawing anime, I was drawing Dragon Ball Z. And I think within the first 2 years, I learned burnout. I learned burnout pretty quick because, again, my brain is sensitive to these types of workouts. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep chasing what you want, but respect your mind, respect your energy levels, and with that, happy painting. And if you want to join a Discord, there'll be a link in the description. I look forward to meeting you and seeing what you guys are producing. Alright guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.